Awesome. There we go. Got the recording rolling. Dan, how are you doing, man?
Good, good, doing well.
Good, man. Good, man. I'm glad to have you here, brother. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And I really like to start all of these client spotlight interviews off with just laying context for people. And the easiest way to do that is just have you tell everybody how much weight you've lost so far.
Yeah, so I'm down 23 pounds. It's been a little less than 3 months, about 2.5 months or so. Since starting, I'm down 23. So
That's awesome, man. That's a great rate of weight loss for sure, man. I mean, you're pushing like the 2 pounds a week metric, which is, I mean, more than double what some would consider fast weight loss. So, I mean, you're absolutely crushing it, brother. And I guess before you were actually working with us directly, you might share maybe like what it was you were struggling with when it came to actually losing weight in the past.
yeah, I think I mean, exercise and fitness was a hard part of it. I was a college athlete, and then I was coaching college sports after I graduated, and so like still stayed fairly active. But pretty much once I left coaching, which was what, like 6 years ago. I kind of took for granted like how much it was just automatically part of my day, and so that kind of went away. Also had kids, during that time, which made it harder to find time to get to the gym, and so I had started going to the gym like just a few weeks before I started working with you guys, but just felt like I needed like some kind of guidance. So I think that was a big part of it, and then also for me, I think it was I wasn't necessarily eating like a lot of junk food, but just I think portion size is not really paying attention to like how much I'm eating. And so I think that was something that I was struggling with and made it hard to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, brother. And one thing we've noticed as well is like a lot of times guys have to have maybe like a come to Jesus moment or a wake up call. Um, Essentially, they have to get to a point where they're fed up enough about where they're at that they're willing to change. I mean, as much as you're comfortable sharing, do you mind maybe walking people through like kind of what that looked like for you? Like, what was it that kind of pushed you over the edge and made you say, you know what, enough is enough. It's time to do something about this.
Yeah, I think for me, like I wasn't weighing myself all that often, but like even I think because I had started going to the gym a few weeks before I started working with you guys, I probably even lost a few pounds then because I saw like 295 on the scale at one point.
Mm.
I think that was kind of the wake up call of like I'm getting close to 300, don't want to really get to that point.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's when things kind of kick started for me, and that's probably kind of what kind of brought all this on and being like, hey, I need to focus in more
Yeah.
here.
And when you noticed yourself kind of like creeping up and kind of getting closer to that even 300 mark, I mean, at that time, like, how did you notice the weight specifically like impacting you? Like maybe from a career or relationships or just day-to-day life? I mean, how did you notice that maybe like negative impact that it was having? Like what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think just energy levels. And again, when you got kids, it's you need to have high energy levels to kind of keep
Yeah.
up with them, and so it was
Mhm.
just like being just exhausted more than I probably should be, especially considering I wasn't being super active in terms of exercise and stuff like that. So just regular day-to-day stuff, just being really tired. I've always had like knee and back pain, even when I was younger and in shape, but like that started to get worse and worse too. So like just realizing like, hey, if I if I don't do anything about this, like this is just gonna be what it's gonna be like for the rest of my life if I'm just gonna be hurting and feeling that uncomfortable pain and stuff because of all this extra weight.
Yeah. Yeah, super frustrating. Super frustrating. And I mean, I know you mentioned you kind of started going to the gym yourself like right before ended up working with us. But I'd imagine in the past you've probably tried like something, right? Did you ever do like a specific diet or have like coaching or exercise regimens? Was there anything that you tried before that maybe didn't necessarily work that well for you?
Yeah, I would say again, going back to like whatever 7, 8 years ago, I was working as a college coach. I had access to a gym. I was doing a pretty good job of staying active, and then but yeah, once that stopped, it kind of I had to think more intentionally about how to get into my day. And I didn't join a gym. I just was doing stuff at home occasionally, and just wasn't really consistent with it in terms of like exercise, diet. I mean, I tried some things. Again, I was never really eating. I don't think I was really eating much junk food. Like I don't drink soda regularly. Wasn't just eating a bunch of things that weren't good for me. But again, it was the portion control. Tried. We did do what was it called, like a Whole 30 diet. Um, my wife and I did it. We didn't. I don't think we even made it the whole 30 days, but I think I still lost like 12, 15 pounds just from doing the diet, not really exercising. Um, so it kind of worked, but then it was just really, I felt like it was really strict and hard to kind of keep up with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we've seen a lot of too, right? Even things like Whole30 or even like keto or some of the bigger name ones. It's like it's not that they don't help you lose weight, right? Like you can get weight off really quick if you do something that restrictive. Uh, but keeping it off is obviously a whole different fish to fry, right? And I mean, when it came to actually like working with us specifically, like what maybe made you interested or at least open to the idea of working with us? Was there something that maybe stood out to you in the process beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the idea of having people that can kind of come alongside you and keep you accountable. I think that's the hard part of it is just knowing like when it's all on you. Sometimes it's easy just to forget about it or give up, and you're not really letting anyone else down necessarily. But when you got people kind of in your corner, it kind of helps you, makes you feel a little bit worse if you're like if you don't keep up with it. And so I think the idea of having that when you guys had reached out to me the first time, I like the idea of it. The faith aspect too. I liked how that was a little bit more unique and to what this group of guys had to offer. So yeah.
And I'd imagine there was maybe some holdback or at least a little bit of maybe like fears or concerns that you had initially. Most people have some just naturally anytime you're signing up for anything. I mean, did you have any of those when it came to working with us? Was there anything that made you maybe concerned or any fears that you had initially before starting?
Um, I think yeah, I think just a little bit of of being vulnerable and just in terms of sharing sharing's everything that I'm doing and like oh man like what if they tell me things I'm doing wrong and like I want to learn, but at the same time, like that can be hard. But I wasn't too worried about it. I just figured I'd try. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then you don't have to do it forever. But um, that's kind of what my mindset was, kind of going in.
Yeah. And was there anything in particular that would you say maybe like made you do it anyways amidst some of those small concerns that you maybe did have?
Yeah, I think again, and just like I was at the point where I feel like I needed to make a big change, and I didn't really have anything else that I was thinking besides just like signing up for the gym and kind of going and doing kind of random workouts. Didn't really have a plan, so I felt like I needed something, and so this ended up being the kind of first thing that came up, and so
Yeah.
it just worked out well that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, from like a sustainability perspective, I guess, in terms of like how you feel going forward. I mean, um, just with everything we taught you, I mean, do you feel like you're set up for success going forward, and you feel like these are results that you'll be able to sustain?
I think so. Like I think what I love about this is you guys do keep it very simple. Like you talked about before, like some of these other, diets, there's just like so many rules and restrictions and very limiting. And I feel like this, again, a lot of it came down to portion control and, focusing on eating higher protein and that kind of stuff, which is helpful. But it wasn't you guys, you almost never, I don't think you ever said like don't ever eat this or you can't have any like but you just know that if you do, then it's gonna if you keep track of the numbers, it's gonna affect that. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be much easier to sustain because you can be flexible with, what you eat or if you have one big meal or if something comes up, like you can always kind of adjust other meals and it's not the end of the world if you had, one bad meal or one bad day or whatever, because you can kind of keep that. You have those numbers that you need to hit the rest of the days. So
Yeah. No, it's good to hear, man. It's good to hear. Yeah, like our main objective is exactly what you're talking about. Like, how do we do this in the most sustainable way possible without making you guys feel like you have to completely turn your world upside down to make it a possibility? So, man, I'm really glad to hear that. And I guess just to give people an idea of just kind of maybe how far you've come since before you kind of started to get the weight off. I mean, now that you're down, say what, 23 pounds or so. I mean, how would you say things have changed for you from the beginning of doing this till now?
yeah, I think definitely feeling like I got a lot more energy than I did before. Definitely just feeling stronger too. Like wasn't really doing much to keep up with that before this. So I think just being able to focus on that, feeling stronger. Um, and yeah, again, I think just eating the right things, just being, thinking more about when I'm going to the grocery store or making a meal, like how can we adjust the recipe? How can we adjust it to make it better? Didn't really have that mindset before. Just ate whatever we wanted to eat and made some good decisions, but didn't really think too much about kind of everything that goes into a meal, and how to kind of maximize the protein and minimize the calories and just doing stuff to make it work well for me.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And really the last question I have for you is actually kind of directed towards, maybe the people that are listening to this. And it's just essentially, if there's somebody listening to this that maybe resonates with where you were at beforehand and your story kind of is hitting home for them. I mean, if you could kind of talk to that person maybe through the camera, I mean, why would you tell them that they should just take action and make some sort of change in their life?
Yeah, I think it's just it can seem overwhelming, and hard, and feels like a big task or whatever to take on and to overcome. But and the way you guys have structured it, like it is really simple. Like it's not, you didn't have to spend hours and hours. Like you guys have the courses, you have all that kind of stuff, but like overall, like you're not having to spend hours and hours learning how to do all this stuff. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. And like it can, I think it can be really easy for anyone to kind of take on and implement without having to be a total shock to their current eating habits, their current life. And so I think it's a lot easier than you might think once you get going.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. And again, Dan, I appreciate you being here, brother, because obviously, uh, these conversations and these interviews not only inspire other guys that, were in the program with you, but also guys that are looking to be a part of it. Right. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here because somebody that's listening to this will get something out of it, man. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you dearly, brother.
for sure. Glad I could help.